Put hands together, put hands together. That's it, that's what I want to see, that's what I want to see. Yeah, first and foremost, my name is Birmingham19 and I live in Birmingham. I'm a qualified mechanical engineer and I work as a process engineer. So I'm one of engineering UK Senate. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about what's engineering all about, what's UK Senate is all about. So obviously guys, you're going to look at me because I don't really like talking in front of people. I get a bit scared, but I'm going to try to speak here today. I'm going to try to speak today. But before I'm just going to start, I'm just going to ask my brother, Engineer Joel, to talk to us about UK Senate. What's today's will be all about today. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we all doing? Good? Okay, good. So we're here for British Science Week. So I'll just go through a brief agenda. I'll just introduce ourselves very quickly, and then we'll go through some of the workshops, activities that we have prepared for you guys. And then we'll move on to some guest speakers that we have and closing remarks before we leave. So some of the activities that we have planned today, for example, the first one, the world under a microscope, carbon capture, all activities relating to some of the potential problems facing the world today, or some of the problems that we have. We're also going to take you through a workshop on how you can make your own soap, some electricity generations and things like that. So just a quick introduction on who we are. So Senat, we're a Congolese Engineering Network Association. We are a community interest company. So it's basically sort of like a charity where we do our work for the benefits of the company, the benefits of the community, the benefits of our community. So we are made up of a group of young UK graduate engineers of different disciplines. So we are made up of civil engineers, mechanical engineers, petroleum engineers, reservoir engineers, so all various different groups of engineering. So we all came together to solve some of the problems that we have. So in terms of our values, why we came together. So when I was studying, or when we were at uni, we had a lack of representation for our community. So when you go into like engineering courses, engineering subjects, we didn't have other peers, or we didn't have people that could guide us, in terms of like exam preparations or things to do. So, which is why when we finished, we decided to put, a group together where we can help aspire. So some of you guys, to take up a career in engineering, especially also empower women in STEM. So as you've seen, Engineer Vivian, who came up here as a lady, in a lot of engineering class, in my engineering class, there were about 200 boys, and out of 200, there were 7 girls. So we, especially from from sort of black ethnic minorities or disadvantaged backgrounds, we really have a lack of representation of females engineers. So I don't know where, maybe at some point we were told females couldn't do it, but we are here today to tell you that you can. You have the strength, you have the ability to do it. So long as you believe in yourself, you believe in your abilities, there's no reason why in a few years you can't be standing, among us, in the future. So we also aim to inspire each other through challenging development in careers. So always pushing each other to sort of achieve and go for, as Papa Jacques said, go for the highest level that you can sort of get to. Because as you'll realize, for example, for Congolese people in the parliament, for example, we don't have any representation of, for example, we can say Congolese descent, which means when we have issues relating to our countries, there's no one in the parliament that can sort of stand up and speak about those issues because we don't have that representation. There's no one that will care more about yourself than, no one will care more about your country than yourself. So that's what we want to do. So we want to build a brighter future, both here in the diaspora and also for people back home. So we have some activities that we also perform back home. So we build, for example, like water wells for disadvantaged villages. So we have like drilling engineers in our midst where, we go to Congo and, other places and perform like activities for the community, for the benefits of the community. And in terms of our vision, so we want to see greater representation of black ethnic minorities in all walks of life. So in all, especially like throughout careers, starting from like the directors, to entrance. We want to see that representation, because at the moment when you join into work, we don't have sort of leaders who can sort of aspire you or inspire you to sort of achieve. So which is why we're here today, to sort of just encourage you. Take up engineering. It's not as difficult as people make it out to be. So you will see that when we go to do our activities. So that's what we want to do. We want to create a network of models and leaders that that you can aspire to do something in the future. So what is British Science Week? Why we are gathered here today? So British Science Week is a celebration of science, technology and maths, and this year is being celebrated from the 11th until tomorrow. So all of this week is Science Week. So what we want to do, we want to smash the stereotype. What does that mean? So if I were to ask you a question, what do you imagine what a scientist look like? What would you tell me? Like, when you think of a scientist, what do you think? Do you have any answers in the room? Like, when you think of the word scientist, what comes up to your mind?
Messy hair.
Pardon? What was that?
Messy hair.
Messy hair. Yeah, what else?
One of these?
Yeah.
One of these?
Guys, come on, we need some answers from the group. When you think of a scientist, yes, what do you think? They wear goggles. That's it. That's correct. What else? Come on. It's a smart answer. Yes.
Chemicals.
Pardon? Gloves. They wear gloves. What else? What do you think? Yes. Exactly. So when you think of scientists, we tend to think of the picture that we have there in the middle of sort of white people in white lab coats and things like that. So that's what, when you think of scientists, you think of someone like Sir Isaac Newton. Those are the kind of scientists that we think. But as you can see around this room, some of our engineers, some of our scientists, we are also scientists. So it's to tell you that you don't have to be a particular way to do any particular type of career. So when we have that representation that I talked about in the previous slide, we then want to also be amongst those. We want you, when you grow up, to take up a career in science, because not only is it rewarding financially, you'll be stable, but it's one of the most sort of satisfying careers that you can do. There's a lot of things to do, like a lot of career progressions, and also respect in the community as well. So it will be great if some of you in the future, when you come to picking your GCSEs or picking courses that you do at uni, to think also that you can also be that scientist. You can come up with the latest development in science. So which is why we are here today. We want to sort of smash that stereotype, encourage some of you, and also showcase some of the work that we've been doing. So the theme for Science Week this year is turned around growth. So things growing. So we have a number of activities which we have planned. Which we have planned in the next room that we'll go through. But if you're thinking of growth, what do you sort of think? Like, what are the issues relating with growth? Can we have some answers in the room? Yeah, so what in terms of growth will leads to that climate change? Yes, it's a good answer. It's a very, very good answer. So when you think of growth, what is growing? Yes? You're going to say what, sorry? Yes, so droughts and famine, there are a lot of areas, I'll come to you in a second, there are a lot of areas in Africa where across the world, people are, famine is increasing, there's a lack of water, for villages. Yes, you had the answer, yes. So, gap in the ozone layer is increasing. What's the reason why the gap in the ozone layer is increasing? How does that relate to things growing? Yes? Pardon? Because of pollution. So the more our population is growing, so everyone in the population by 2050 was forecasted to reach around 9 billion to 10 billion people in the world. So when the population increases, means we need to find a way to grow the amount of food that we have for people. Like, when the population increases, it means more people will be traveling, more people will be going from one place to the other, releasing a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And so that sort of affects our life, it affects the environment. And so some of the activities that we're going to take you in the next room is to show you how you can use science to sort of solve some of those issues, to solve the issue of pollution increasing, to solve the issues of famine, to solve the issue of lack of water for underrepresented villages. So that's what we have planned for you. We also have an activity relating to dam electricity generation. There are lots of places where they still don't have electricity, how we can sort of produce that in a sustainable and social way. So are the civil engineers ready to sort of give a background on what they'll be presenting?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully we're not going to keep you too long. So we're going to be discussing the science behind building a dam. Does everyone know what a dam is? Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant. So we'll just go through it slowly, quickly, and then we'll move on to the practical aspects of it. So, as you can see, the slides here, a dam is a barrier that stops or restricts flows from water or underground streams. So you guys know what a beaver is? And you know what they do? Yeah? So us humans, we've gone there, we've seen what beavers do, and then we've applied that as well, you see. And from that, it helps us collect water that we can drink, water that we can use to create energy. So there's so many benefits to it. Yes, I'll pass it on to our engineer, Patrick.
Hello guys. Oh, sorry.
It's loud.
I'll just go through some of the details about building a dam and the process that it goes through. So as you said, a dam is usually a barrier that restricts flow. It's usually built in the path of the river so that we can have a reservoir of water behind it. So there we can have a storage that we can use to treat and supply drinking water, which in itself, that's something that we need a lot in Congo. There's lack of supply of drinking water, so these projects like this are quite important. It can also be used, as I say, to generate electricity, hydroelectricity, using the energy, gravitational energy with when the water drops. So that's some benefits that comes from it. So the process, it comes from identifying the need first of all. Why do we need a dam? And then identify a location. So depending on the location, how wide the valley is, the depth of water, things like that, that's what then informs the decision of what materials to use, whether it's concrete or embankment dams, which are just like clay, sand and gravel. But so this is just an idea of the whole stage. So it will go from concept stage where from those ideas, people put together maybe hand drawings or maybe simple drawings of what could, what the solutions could be. And then when everyone, agrees, and at this point, a lot of people are involved, scientists, geologists, engineers, design engineers, construction engineers, because it's a big process and a big project. So after the concept is finalized, then we go into detailed design. So using software, a lot of designs today are done using softwares like AutoCAD or SolidWorks. Yeah, there's Revit for structures and things like that. So then you'd have the detailed design, which details pretty much everything about where everything's going to go, what material is going to go where, the size, the depth, all the details on there, and then that will be passed on to a contractors. Or here nowadays technology is developing. You can have a 3D model of it, where so today like BIM is a big thing that's coming up and companies are using. Where I don't know if you guys probably don't know about it, but it's building information modeling. So that way you have a visual of exactly what it is you're going to build, a visual of where the materials are going to go, how they're going to go, and then from that point on, it gets passed on to a contractor, people that have experience building these things. And then, as you said, they get on with the construction of it. A lot of times, some of these decisions are made by designers, which most of these guys are. They just sit behind the laptop and tell you, okay, go do this, do that. But it's good to involve everyone, because the people that have the experience building it have the input, and then they carry out the works, and at the end, hopefully, we get the results that we want, and a long-term project. So, which is basically a built dam that works. So I hope that wasn't too much to go through, but the aspects of the science behind it is, like we said, the decisions informed by location and how much water is required and everything like that. So you need to know a lot of how materials behave when in contact with water, you know, the rate of erosions and things like that. So some dams are built using concrete. Concrete is good when in contact with water, because it helps it to strengthen and things like that. Or some are built using a clay. The biggest dams, the embankment dams, they're built using a clay core, but you put sand and rocks on either side to dissipate the energy of the water and prevent erosion and things like that. So it's a big complex, and I hope that was helpful. I'll pass it back on to
Thank you very much, Patrick. I just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm Anthony, civil engineer. We've got Mauricio, civil engineer, Patrick, civil engineer, and also Mike, who's a civil engineer. It's not easy standing in front here and speaking to everybody. Just wanted to illustrate that. I'm sweating right now. we do this day in, day out. So, but when it comes to explaining to people, that's where the difficult aspect is. But there's a lot of benefits to this. So my question now is, who here is thinking of getting into civil engineering or engineering in general? Can I just get a hands up? Just one. Who here is interested in civil engineering or engineering? No?
I will answer for someone else.
Okay, no problem.
So, my son's not here, but he think about any kind of engineering, computer engineering, whatever. So, it's not here, he went to a football. I wish him to come here today, unfortunately. But I wish to invite you for another opportunity, because I'm planning to hosting Children and Fathers Day event.
Okay.
I would like him to invite you, because it will be important, because I want to invest in our community as
That's
well,
brilliant.
in education, things like that. So I want to in future invite you, because it's very important what you're doing. I'm with you. I'm aiming to do the same thing.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I started a project that is how we can help you guys.
What we can do is
Congratulations for your work. I'm really impressed and appreciate that we need for grow our black community.
no, thank you very much. We appreciate that. What we can do is we'll have all contact details
Of course,
in the end, and we can exchange it.
Thank you very much.
So what we're going to do now is we'll move on to our practical aspect. So get everyone up, get the body moving, you know.
All right, guys, I see around the room there wasn't much appetite for a career in science or engineering. Can I ask, especially like the young ones, what type of careers are we thinking of doing?
May I ask a question before you move on?
Yes.
I don't know. I know that you're talking about civil engineer. What is the difference? Is it any military engineer or civil? What is
No, so
Civil, it's about design.
Let me ask this question.
That's a good question.
I did
There's
say
any
engineering.
another type.
I did say engineering as a whole.
In general, yeah.
Engineering.
Yeah,
So
engineering.
it's civil engineer. But civil engineers
Yeah.
they do basically a bit of everything. Because civil just means you're a servant of everything, of everyone. You see? Yeah.
Yeah, I know inside that it can be mechanical or whatever, but when you say who's interested in civil mechanical, so I was a bit lost.
Apologies.
thank you, but we'll have as I said in the introduction, we'll have a Q&A session when we return from the activities. I think at the moment I want to hear from our young ones, what sort of careers are we thinking of going into? Any volunteers? Yes? interior.
Ooh, that's good.
That's a good one. You have your hand up? Business, yeah, very good as well. Yes? So, yeah. Yes? What do you want to do when you're older?
Learn.
You want to learn. What do you want to do as a, do you want to become a doctor? Do you want to become a lawyer? Do you want to become an engineer? Do you want to become a scientist? Do you have any ideas?
Scientist, doctor, and teacher.
That's good.
Yes, you have your hand up.
I want to be a teacher.
You want to be a teacher, that's good.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Yes, and right. A surgeon. Any particular type of surgery you want to? Brain surgery. Yes. Doctor and what? Doctor and ruler. So really say all these sort of like side business. Yeah, but yeah.
There's one over here.
Was there another one up here? You want to be a footballer? Oh, that's good. A lot of money for the community, huh? But yeah, so with the different careers that you guys are coming across, so all of our engineers and the people next door, we're on hand. So if you have any questions or want to ask, for example, what do you need to study for you to become a doctor or for you to become a lawyer, we're here as well. We can give you advice in terms of career advice. Even in the future, so when you can take our contact details. If you have any questions regarding anything, you could always contact us. Me myself, how to explain this? I'm a reservoir engineer, so I did my bachelor in petroleum engineering, so which is the exploration and production of oil and gas. I then did a master's in reservoir engineering, so it's like a specialty within the petroleum field. And I work for Total, and now I'm working for the government, so I work for the Department for Business and Energy, and also looking at the industrial strategy. So in relation to some of the activities that we're going to see, as you guys already mentioned, one of the biggest problems facing the earth today is this issue of climate change. So the exercise that we're going to do, or exercises are going to take you through potential solutions that we can have, to mitigate the impacts of climate change. So we have about 6 activities. So I would like us, if possible, to get into 6 groups, if that is possible. I think it can be like, how many people do we have? Kasai, do you want to, maybe they can start following engineer. Can we have people follow engineer Anthony?